The third round of Norway Chess saw a big upset as Magnus Carlsen and Praggnanandhaa faced each other. And to everyone's surprise, the 18-year-old was able to overpower the GOAT. Let's check out what actually happened. So Pragg is white, the game begins, and Magnus chooses to play the Sicilian Khan variation. At the highest level, the Khan variation does not have a lot of popularity, but you know he's Magnus, he'll play everything. Bishop to d3 and queen to c7. By the way, bishop c5 is considered as to be the main line, but queen c7 is what Magnus opts for castles, and here Pragg goes for the Sicilian Marozzi bind kind of formation. This kind of formation usually restricts black from expanding on the queen side and in the center, and also gives white a lot of spacious advantage. So let's see what Magnus does. Magnus brings out the knight, Pragg does the same. Magnus puts the knight in the center, and here f4 is like the usual response to kick away the knight. But h3 is what Pragg chooses for. One idea could be to probably stop the knight on f6 from ever landing to that g4 square, and also preparing bishop e3. But let's see what Magnus does. Magnus plays b6, f4, Pragg wants to kick the knight away, takes, and bishop to b7. f5 by Pragg, he really wants to open up the position. Queen to d7. Apparently this is a mistake. In this position, e5 should have been the move that should have been considered, because it completely locks down the position. But queen d7 was played, which according to the computer is a mistake. Bishop g5 was played. Pragg should have really considered taking and opening up the files, but instead he goes here. Bishop e7, rook d1. Now Pragg here plays a very nice retreating move with the queen. Queen to e2, e5. Here there could be some potential threats against the black queen. So instead he goes e5 and he really wants to kick the knight away. Pragg takes and Magnus takes back. Here if this 6 would have happened, then after all of the treats, Magnus would be down 3 points in material. So instead, Magnus took here. Pragg retreats the knight and now comes queen c6. You can see that both of the bishops that black has are completely useless. Maybe this bishop can get alive after coming to this diagonal, but at the moment the knights are doing fantastic job. So queen c6 was played by Magnus, hitting the pawn on c4, knight e3 defending, and bishop to g5. And here Pragg has to put the knight in the center, keep his knights, and that would be fine for him. But instead he goes here, and he allowed Magnus to trade his very important knight. I mean his useless bishop for this very important knight. So Magnus happily accepted the trade, takes and f6, strengthening the center. b3 was played trying to defend, b5, Magnus wants to open up the queen side, knight d5, Pragg puts the knight in the center, queen c5, Magnus offers to trade, Pragg declines, takes, queen h5 check, if g6, then after takes, it's already game over. So this was played, rook f3, a very nice move, controlling the entire third rank and also looking for some potential kingside attacks. Bishop takes d5, Magnus eliminates the knight. Pragg takes back. Queen b6. Takes. And here, after rook b3, you can see that both the rooks are slicing up the position. Here, Magnus has to go queen c7. And maybe black is still hanging on there. Potentially, positionally, it should be lost. But you know that was the best try that black had. But instead, Magnus goes here. We have rook d2, d3, takes. And here, the problem is that Pragg has only one winning move in this position. Queen to d1. g6 was played, trying to free up some space. But in order to win the position, you have to put the queen behind the rook. And that is what exactly Pragg does. Now this queen is completely alone here. And it alone has to fight both the queen and the rook. So queen c5 was played in this position. Here queen c4 was again the move that should have been taken into consideration. You'll see why. But queen c5 was played. Rook b7 by Pragg, cutting off the king. Here if rook b8 check would have been played, then this is a bit too greedy, you know? Check, here, and if you take, then you run into a perpetual here. There's no way of escaping it. So instead, rook b7 was played, cutting off the king. Takes, and here, ladies and gentlemen, Pragg plays a very nice silent move. King to h2. He didn't take here because after rook g8, black gets enough time to create counterplay. Because white's main idea is to go here, threaten checkmate. But after this, it gives black a perpetual. Of course, if you block with the queen, then you're losing the queen. So g3. But then again, it again leads to a perpetual. So instead, Pragg goes here. Rook g8. But now, white has time to play queen b3 as the king is not on h1. So d5 was played. Magnus has this massive center, but Pragg calmly collects the pawn on h7, and here's where Magnus resigned. Because there's a threat of checkmate here, and let's say if you go here, then this comes. Now this and this is checkmate. If you defend, then this forcing sequence leads to checkmate. What a proud moment for India and Praggnanandhaa. He just beat the GOAT in classical chess. I believe Praggnanandhaa is like the second highest or the second youngest youngster to ever beat Magnus in a classical chess, probably after Notabek Abdusattorov.